And a good morning to you. Happy Thursday. A little wet outside. The weather is spring-like. You're almost at the weekend, just a little bit longer. Coming to you live from the North Georgia studios as we broadcast beside the banks of the Southern Fried River as it gently flows through the state of Georgia, meandering its way down south, crossing into boundaries unknown into the great state of Florida. It's happy to be here always with our friends across the podcast spectrum, no matter where in the world you're coming from. We are Southern, and we enjoy our Southern hospitality. And so we welcome you in this morning. Be you a longtime listener or new, you're all welcome just alike. Patriot Morning Show. God bless America. Yes. It's good to be an American. It's great to be an American. Never lose sight of the greatness of the country, even though some knuckleheads try to diminish or change the greatness that we are. In the end, they can't do it. Everybody's always predicting the end of America, the end of the greatness of America. And yes, they see evidences of sickness all around. But America is doing fine. It flexes its muscles very often, and Americans are still living better than the rest of the world by far. I get tired of hearing about what other countries do, and America should be like it. We are the best. We do not need European ways. We do not need socialist, communist, whatever isms you want to throw in there. We don't need it. Get tired of it. People say, well, where I came from. Well, you're not there anymore. You're here. We don't want to hear it. We will always be working on issues. It's not a perfect collection of states, but it is a United States. And even though some knuckleheads may be leading in those states, there may be a lot of citizens that are knuckleheads as well. I don't like it when people diminish a state, the beauty of a state. Every state has its beauty. It has uniqueness. It's an amazing country. Love to travel it. Love to see different aspects of it, from the mountains to the flatlands to the swamps to the beautiful plains to major lakes and waterways, massive trees to areas that are wide open. It is a beautiful country. It offers just about every dynamic you could even hope to find, no matter what your environment that you like, no matter if you like it very cold most of the time or very hot, very wet or very dry. If you like to live up in the mountains or if you like to live in the flatlands or whatever it is, this country offers that. You could spend the rest of your life exploring it, even though people say I've been to all 50 states. That's neat. I've been to about 27, I think. But honestly, you could spend your life within each state, traveling and studying it and walking across it and looking at different aspects. You will never study it out. Just one state. You can spend your whole life doing that. It's such a massive area. It's a great country. We just have to, continue to fight the good fight of freedom, always guarding our freedoms that we have, standing upon the bedrock principles of the Constitution, making sure that our rights are not being taken from us. At times that has happened, or limitations to those rights. It is important that we do our duty as Americans. It's important that we vote. It's important that we protect the vote. Yes. It's important that we have a strong defense, not to defend all these other nations, but to defend the good old US of A. We will help the small ones sometimes against bullies, in some cases to stop carnage. America has become that. It's because of that shining light. It is not something we enjoy, but occasionally this has to happen. Sometimes we were involved in things we shouldn't have been involved with. That's always the danger. But we definitely should defend our own borders. We definitely should make sure that criminals are dealt with. making sure that that idea of the American dream can still be attained by people. It should always be attainable for those that want to work. It should not be something that's handed out. With citizenship comes responsibility. You know, you can be as great as you want to be. If you don't look at everything and make excuses for everything, you can be whatever you want to be. Is it easy? No. That's why everybody doesn't do it. There's too many people that just want things handed to them. You have to work for your dream. It's not put on a silver spoon for most people in the world or even in America. You have to work to attain those things that you want. You'll get pushed down sometimes. You might lose it all. You can build it back. Continue to chase your dreams. That's the greatness of this country, to continue to be able to be what you want to be. And you just don't take no for an answer. You don't use the words I can't or they won't let me. You find a way. You rise to the top. You do what you want to do. And I'm not even going to be talking about becoming a millionaire, billionaire, or whatever. Sure, if that's what you want to do, great. There's, hundreds of thousands of mom and pop, businesses. It's such a big part of our country. They work their tails off many, many hours a day. There's never enough hours in the day to get done what they want to do. They're constantly being attacked on the taxes and restrictions and all the things that government puts in the way sometimes in many places in America to try to have a successful business. But you just keep pushing forward. You don't let those people win. You continue to fight and live your dream. And it is a satisfaction that comes from doing something that you want to do. I've heard it said by people, I want to work for myself. I don't want to work for a boss. You always have a boss. There's always a boss. You always answer to somebody. If you're in small business, your boss is your customer. They either like what you have or they don't. You should listen to them. Amen. You should want to give. I mean, that's success. If you're selling something nobody wants, it's not going to be in business very long. You got to find that market, that thing that you have. And you got to continue to reinvent yourself with that. It takes a lot of work, a lot of courage, a lot of loss of sleep. A lot of times you don't get to go do what other people want to do, but you can do it. And it's a crying shame. I mean, people that our country that cry about immigrants, legal immigrants who have came here have made successful businesses. And I know everybody gripes about taxes or no taxes or whatever but they show you the model. You can do it. If you work hard at it, be an overcomer. They always say you'll appreciate something more if you have an investment in it. If it's given to you, you won't appreciate it as much. There's a lot of truth in that. It's like, it's like a marriage. You work at it. You, at the end of your days, you can look back over those days and say, boy, we had some tough times, but it's been a great journey together. And it is together. It's one. I see these husbands and wives working their business, making, equally just out there, making it happen. It's amazing. Or so maybe the one spouse has a business, the other one works for somebody else, but they come and help with that business. A lot of times these people are up before the daylight and they end the day late at night. They work 70, 80 or plus hours a week. Trying to make this thing go. And then to see someone make it become a big success. I talked to a guy once, or I listened to an interview of the guy once. He actually came here the wrong way. He felt bad about that, but he was things were so bad for him. But he went back and he got legal, and he's in Alabama. And it's probably still out there. It was a great podcast with 1819 News. This guy started out like doing lawn care and, doing things like that, shrubberies and plants and landscaping and all that. And he started and he worked and he worked and he worked. And this guy has become a tremendous success. And he employs about 60 people. And he just continues to work. He's not slowing down. He continues to build. And all those jobs that he's provided, he pays a decent wage. He treats his employees with respect. And that's why they had him on, because his story was pretty amazing. Sometimes people do the wrong. Sometimes they got to go back and correct it. He did. He had to correct his not doing things right, breaking the law. He went back and he fixed it. It was important. He loves the country. He's paying his taxes. He's employing others. Um, he is making a way for not only him and his family, but others. And he is growing that business and growing people within the business. His people that work for him are very loyal to him. They continue to stay with him because of the way they're treated. They're paid decently and they enjoy the work. So it's just one example out of so many where people have worked and worked and worked and continue to work their dream. I tell people all the time that come to work for our company, I'll say, chase your dreams. While you're here, do the best job you can do for this company. But if it may be a stepping stone to you to something else. I always ask them, what do you want to do in your life? I was in line. I told the listeners this here recently. I was in line at a restaurant. It's really interesting. I was in line at Chick-fil-A, and I like Chick-fil-A, and I really like their customer service. They have some of the best. And yeah, everybody's got a story. Maybe you found something, but bar none. Their training videos are amazing. So I was in line. I like to encourage people. I had to describe myself. I would call myself an encourager. I like to encourage people. I like to learn about them. I can close my mouth and listen to them. So I was in line at Chick-fil-A. First young man, I was talking to him. Fine looking young man, dressed nice, very respectful. He had a moment. He didn't have nobody behind me, which is rare. It changed soon, but I asked him how long he'd been at Chick-fil-A. He said, I think he said three months or something like that, or 4 months. He was still in school. And I asked him what he wanted to do. He said, without batting an eye, he said, I want to be a civil engineer. I said, amazing. I said, you're very high, much higher than my pay grade to be able to do that. So we talked for a minute. I encouraged him, and he said, I enjoyed talking to you, sir. Excuse me, I had to go do my job. I said, absolutely. Don't ever let me hinder you from doing your job. Then I said, thank you for what you do. I moved forward, talked to another young man. How long you been at Chick-fil-A? He said, about a year. I said, what do you want to do your life without batting an eye? This is what gets me. People today tend to think that young people are lazy and not doing anything. And there are those out there. But let me tell you, there's a lot of young people kicking butt. Anyway, I talked to this young man. What do you want to do? Without batting an eye, he said, I want to drive a big rig. That's what I want to. He looked like that kind of guy, too. He just had that look. He knew where he wanted to go to school. He even mentioned my company without realizing the company that I work for. And we very much promote, because everybody has a shortage of drivers. Good morning, Chickbait. There's a shortage of drivers. So I said, listen, you can make really good money, because he had a plan. I like all these young people. They had plans. They were detailing stuff. Like he said, I want to work for a company. He mentioned my company. I want to work locally. He said, then when I get my feet kind of wet, kind of get settled in, really understand things more, knowing my job, knowing how to do things, which I respected all that. Then he said, I want to be long haul. I said, hey, listen, you can make $80,000 a year driving local. And I said, our company is always hiring drivers, and there's programs that will pay you to go to school and do that. And I said, if you're on the road, you can make over $100,000 a year driving a truck if you enjoy that type of thing. Again, very impressed with this young man. Good morning, broski. Could you email me at, I'm going to put my email in, I don't know where you can see it at. Anyway, if you'll write this down, I want you to email me. Cordell's Atlanta. I didn't block you. Cordell's Atlanta at gmail.com. If you would email me, sir, I've been wanting to talk to you anyway. Cordell's, Cordells, Atlanta, all one word, at gmail.com. I give this email all the time. I've had it forever. It's an old ministry email. That's why it's Cordell's. Me and my wife, Atlanta. We used to do a lot of ministry in Atlanta, a lot. On the streets, preaching the gospel and sharing the word. But good morning to you. So anyway, I talked to this young man, and he said, this is what I want to do. So this is Chick-fil-A. So then it's like another few days I was at Wendy's. I had to go. I was headed to election office actually, and I said I got to get something to eat on the way out. I was in a rush. I hate eating like that, but it is what it is. But I talked to the young lady, and then her story was different. You know, she was 23, and she had worked for Wendy's for about 3 years. And I asked her if she wanted to, what she wanted to do. Her plans weren't as like she didn't have a plan. She said, I got some things I want to do, but Wendy's is good for now. And she was happy. And I said, hey, you know what? We need you here. If you weren't here, I couldn't do business. So, and it's hard to get good help. And so we see the bad. Sure, there's some bad out there, but there's a lot of young people that are taking advantage of the opportunities that are afforded them, and they're kicking butt. And we should applaud that and encourage them. And my wife was watching the CMA Awards last night, and I know people say this all the time. And one of the winners, and to me, it's gotten a little old. And she won the award, I think, for female entertainer or entertainer of the year or whatever. And I forget which one it was. I just was watching it because my wife had it on, and she said, "Yeah, for them young people sitting in their mama's basement eating Cheetos, quit trying to pit us women against each other." And da da da. It was kind of like a political statement. And I thought, you don't know anybody, you don't know any young person sitting in the basement eating Cheetos that's against you. That's totally made up. Are there people sitting in their mom's basement that are stupid and all they do is complain? Sure, totally made up, trying to get a pat on the back. Thought it was cute. And I was thinking, why tear down? Why not build up? Give a shout out to a young person who's kicking butt for their support for your career and stuff. That line did not sit well with me. But anyway, that's her business, not mine. She's very successful. She's worked her tail off. Absolutely. But I thought, where did that come from? I mean, what the heck is that? Chickbait, my Rumble doesn't work on my laptop browser sometimes. Yeah, I think all of them have issues sometimes. There has been times that I've had trouble with Rumble. They're still working out. I mean, they're growing so fast. I think sometimes they just, you outpace and they have growing pains. They're not the only one that has that, but they definitely have growing pains. And some things just don't work good on some things. We've got this one channel we're on. It's kind of small, but I love the channel. We don't pay for it. I think that's the reason probably I keep having to bounce things. But I used to use YouTube to post. Well, I used Facebook to post on there, and they got where that didn't work real well. Then I used Rumble, and that didn't work real well. After a while, I used YouTube. That was working great. That don't work so well anymore. I've had to start posting our shows there off of X. So far, that's working, but it's still not my favorite. I think YouTube did the best on it. Anyway, we're not allowed to put the biggest videos there. So I just copy. There's a way to post it through the link, but it just doesn't work sometimes. So anyway, but good morning to all of you. I hope you're having a great Thursday. Folks in here from different things, some from Rumble, some from locals, some from YouTube, some from X, some from Facebook, whatever you're coming in. We got a handful in here, not a whole lot. Some from Instagram. I see you. God bless you. And again, this is my show on Thursdays, which is Patriot Morning Show. Not real political. I just like encouraging and talking about the great things of America. It's really not, I don't mind talking about something that's going on, but it's more about the greatness of America and all the things it offers us, for those that are willing to work, those or neat things that you've seen. I just joined because we're under Wolf Nation. We're gonna be doing a lot of outdoor stuff, especially with Paul and his wife, and they go do these experiences. I'm gonna do a few things, but they go all over the world, even and they got all these awesome things. But anyway, long story short, I joined a couple of Appalachian Trail groups. One is very local to me, and the other one is just it's for the trail itself, and it's way up and down. But anyway, I've been seeing all these posts of beautiful landscapes, waterfalls, places I've never been to, and it's awesome and amazing to see all of that. I get it. I get the thrill of walking back to an area or climbing to an area or descending to an area that that a lot of people don't go to, and you get to see, kind of out alone with nature and all that. You see those things. I mean, it looks better than the concrete jungle, right? But I enjoy that. And, it's good that people are getting out and enjoying the beauty of the country, the things it has to offer, whether that's on the water, under the water, on land, flat land, swamps, beaches, mountains, all the above and more, to enjoy those things. I think it's great when young people have this memory of their family taking them to lake whatever or mountain retreat, ski area or whatever, and they have this memory of their family taking them on these family vacations. I was listening to people that have immigrated to America. They started out their journey in some in Mexico, some in other places. A lot of people here make the mistake of everybody's from Mexico. That's not true. And I was listening to their story as they moved around the country when they first come in, kind of finding their place where they needed to be. And a lot of the stories were very similar. I heard I heard several stories where they would travel across country to resettle in another area for work or whatever. A lot of times they were coming from California to here, but they would talk about there'd be in a van. They would the kid would. This is back in the day. We've all done it, or a lot of us have done it, and they would sit in like coolers in between the bucket seats or whatever. They would have like the cooler they sat on between their parents. They have vivid memories of doing that as a young person as they traveled across the country. Well, that's their experience, and it's learning the language. Some of them, they didn't speak English, so they've worked to learn that. How they felt, isolated. It was scary to them as young people. They were so excited to be here. They it was just a great thing, and that should be what we have. And we hear people and they just trash the country all the time. And we should always attack issues. Yes, we should. I think it's a duty as an American. But some people just fall all over themselves to bash the United States for everything. Like there's nothing good here. Come on. And that's really going too far for me. I'm not going to do that. It's the best country on the face of the planet. We're so blessed to be here. And yeah, we got problems, but we got to work on them, and we got to continue to fight. But to keep our rights and all that stuff. And I just I love America, and I have those memories. When I was a kid going to amusement parks, or we used to go camping a lot. Everybody go camping. My dad loved to camp. I mean, he worked a lot. My dad worked 2 jobs, and even sometimes when we go on vacation to camp, he would be finished with his one job, but he would work 2 or 3 days as security because he couldn't get as many days off. And so my dad from the campground is getting ready and going and doing a security job. I have great respect for that. It taught me the ethics of work. My dad taught me, to work hard, and that's all he ever did was work. I mean, and but he provided for us. And when I got older, and there were some financial hard times, layoffs, because he worked for a union shop, and sometimes they'd go on strike, and there were times that we had tough times. It made us closer. We appreciated everything we had. And when I became old enough, I was already cutting grass, before I was 16. I went to work at 15. I lied about my age to go to work. And it made me feel good to help my family. It made me feel good to say, hey, I got this bill. Dad, I can help you with that. Or just tell mom, hey, I'll here, you need some grocery money, or is there something I can pick up, or taking the family out to eat. Wasn't that, you ever did that? Didn't it make you feel good? This family that raised you, they brought you into this world, and they raised you, and they provided for you and protected you. And thank you, broski. And they did all that. Hey, your Bears are doing great, man. Kudos, man. I really thought that it would be a little bit of a struggle. That's a dang good team, man. They still got some line issues and stuff to work on, but I'm enjoying watching, excuse me, watching the Bears. We've been doing our predictions and stuff. I've been picking the Bears here lately. That's a pretty cool team, man. Pretty exciting. I like sports, so but yeah, to be able to help your family with something. And my dad got laid off one time, and we had bought this TV. It was the nicest TV we ever had. It was he sure has, man. Full respect. And the quarterback's playing great, and I like what they've done. I mean, the receiver, well, there are more than one, but there's one there, the Odunze and all that. Man, playing great. Um, but one year, my dad got laid off at Christmas time every year. It was a tough thing, and he still worked a second job. But let's face it, that job didn't pay nowhere near what he made. So I remember my dad. He said, "Son," he said, "I know you enjoy that." It was like a RCA back in the day. You know what I mean? The big old heavy living room RCA. Those things were heavy, full color. It was the nicest TV we'd ever had. I was 16 years old. My dad said, I think we're going to have to let the TV go back. I knew he didn't like that because that was big for my dad. My dad liked to watch the news. He loved to watch his sports, some old Westerns. And for him, that was unwind time. He would come in and he would watch those things, as he, after his long work day, sometimes working all night at security. And I liked it. When he wasn't there, I got to flip the channels after mom got through with her stuff. This is when we didn't have TVs in every room. I had black and white, but I didn't have a color. And later I did, but then at that time I didn't. And I said, Dad, I'll pay for the TV. And he said, you'll pay for it? He said, and we got to remember, this is pretty close to 80. It was around 80, 81. And, pay wasn't great. I made pretty decent in tips. Decent. I worked hard for it. I said, yeah, Dad. He said, that's whatever it was a month. I said, I got it. And I paid that TV off. And that was it wasn't like, was that a necessity? No. But it was a lot of entertainment for us because we enjoyed watching those things. And it made me feel good to help my family in that way. And other ways I did too. And that Christmas, I bought a lot of Christmas. I helped my mom. And, she, they never asked for anything. They never said, you got to do this, you got to do that. I mean, they didn't need to tell me that I need to help out. I mean, that's what you do. But it still made me feel good to get out and hustle and make money and to help my family. And, my boys, will raise them. They work hard. My one son has had some trouble and he's trying to get things straightened out in his life. But he's a hard worker. That doggone guy can work on anything just about, I think. You just got to get some things straight in his life, and y'all pray for him. But they both work. They work a lot. And another thing they do is they support their mom and dad. And they've always done that. They've always helped us. And now with my wife's health, my oldest son, he worked all night. He'd be getting off this morning. He'd be coming in, spending several hours with his mom before he goes home and goes to bed in his own house. Just seeing her, helping her while I'm at work and stuff. And that's what families do. They stand together, and I love that. Now I'm not saying they don't do it around the world, but I think in America we still have that American value. I think we still have, we can still reach for the stars. We can still do great things. We can still, make America great. Absolutely. Again and again and again. So I just love that kind of spirit of America. And for those that sit around and just want to take, look, there's responsibility to citizenship, like I said. And at some point, we have to get tough with that as a country. We have to. And we are in some ways, but, we've got to do more. And we've got to stop this generational sucking for full support off the government. And I know people say, well, that's what the government wants. Well, maybe they do, but we got to stop that. We have got to do it. That model's bad. And there are states that are about bankrupt. They promise the world and they can't afford it. And, they want to bleed the taxpayer more. Well, the problem is there's less people working and paying in, and you're not seeing those tax dollars. And so they try to take more from those that are. This model's not good. And that's why we're in such debt and things that we have in America. That's the danger. This country should not have a debt problem. Really, think about that. This country should not owe one single cent. Trillions? We shouldn't owe a cent. With the capacity for how we produce and the money that's made in this country, and yes, the taxes that are paid in, and you knuckleheads have placed us in this position. You have to turn things off and tell people, no, we can't do that. It's not even constitutional, a lot of the stuff that we're doing to go into that debt. And we have to quit sending things around the world and imprisoning our taxpayers with the debt and the saddle that's going to be on our backs and already is, and breaking us down and stymieing productivity and, sales and everything, consumer confidence and the inflationary actions and all this stuff that's going on. We got to have a redo on that. We have got to get that straight. If we don't, the country is in trouble for that. We could see collapses. These people have got to get this straight. And I'll be honest with you, I'd like to see a better economy at this point, this far into the presidency. I know he's done some things, but there's maybe a little bit improvement in some areas, but it's not trickling down enough. The rising cost of goods and services is still it's getting beyond reach for a lot of people. It's scary. And this latest government shutdown, which should have never happened, and I know the reasons and all that, but it hurt a lot of people and it exposed a lot of things that's going on in our country. And and the numbers are staggering. People don't even think about the numbers of people that are on SNAP and how many people are on these welfare systems and food systems and whatever else, and the crazy chaos that could happen if those things are limited. And it was already starting to get very dangerous. I think there's already a shortage of food in our country. I was looking yesterday. I've got to reach out today. I was looking for her number. I'm going to get Melissa Blevins with the food bank on, because I know they've been going through it. I didn't want to do it while the government was shut down because I know that was a challenge for her. But I want to get her on to talk about their fundraising for the Christmas time. It's the biggest of the year. But to hear her say, we can't feed everybody, the need is greater than what we have. And they do a massive amount. That's a problem. And yes, kids are involved. I don't know about your area, but in my area, there are systems that feed kids when the school is out, because if they didn't, they think that they may not get fed at all. A lot of kids, their food is solely at school. That's how bad things are. Now, this is what they tell me. There are kids at times that are living in tents, certainly hotels and stay by the night hotels and stuff. Their family situation is what bad. So they're trying to do things within the school to help them to maintain dignity and to be able to wash their clothes, have all the things that they might need, and even things they can take home to wash their clothes or to have food or whatever. That's where we're at. And this is an area that's not as struggling as, say, a coal town of Kentucky or West Virginia or somewhere like that, where they're having to truck the kids 50 miles now one way to go to a school because they couldn't maintain all the schools, or people have moved out of the area. It's so poor. I was talking to someone. I mentioned hiking earlier, and I won't mention the area, but they wanted to go to this place. They said it's a beautiful place. I'm glad I went. I won't never go back. It broke my heart. They went to a place in the country, and they both work hard. The husband and wife, they both work hard. They're living somewhat the American dream, fighting every day. They have their own house, each have a car. They work hard. But they went to this area, people were treating them like they were rich. Like the place was so poor. We're near where they wanted to hike at. And the things she saw, she was shocked at. She didn't realize how bad it was in some parts of the country. And she said, I'm not saying I'm avoiding it. It just was so hard. And how do you help all that? It's everywhere. The whole area is so depressed. It's so run down. The people, the way they dress, you can tell they're not living very healthy lives. And she said, I just didn't think that we had places like that in America. That's what's happening in our country. That's what's happening. and it's increasing. And the cities are in bad shape. We know that the cities are in bad shape, and housing is hard to come by, and housing costs have shot up if you can find housing, and people are paying. My gosh, I know people that are paying more than double what I excuse me, what I pay for my mortgage, more than double. In some cases, triple for places that are just an apartment. Triple what I pay on my mortgage. And mine's went up some. It's fluctuated. It's not where I like it. It's over $100 more a month than I was paying. Some people are in a lot worse shape than I am. And I was talking to a girl. She's a transplant from Michigan. She said I had to get out of that place. She was working in the cleaning crew for our company, and she's now come to work for our company. And she was telling me her experiences with trying to find housing for her kids and herself. And she had she liked the place she was at first. She had a horrible, the person renting to her was horrible. And she said I had to go to court over it even. Said I hated it, hated having to do that. But she finally got out of that situation into a better one, and is not paying quite as much, and just not having to deal with the issues. But she's out here hustling. I mean, working hard. Let me tell you what this girl did. Pretty amazing. She's from outside Detroit, Michigan. I didn't detect the accent, and I said, "You sound like you're from here a little bit. Not a little bit of something there, but." I said, it's like I can almost detect something, but it's very faint. It's really even hard. If I wasn't even focused on it, I wouldn't even notice it. She said, she said, I changed all that. So what do you mean you changed that? She said, I've come south to live in the South the rest of my life. I don't want to go back to the North. I don't want to go back to Detroit. I don't want my family in that. And I love where I live. I love here. I love the friendliness and the beauty, and I'm out of the city and all this stuff. She said, I worked on developing my Southern accent. I said, are you kidding me? She said, no, I worked at it for a long time. She said, I wanted to get rid of that, even the accent from being from Detroit. And I wanted to talk like the people that I'm going to be living around. And she said, so I worked at it, recorded myself. I listened to it. I listened to other people. I recorded them. And I changed my speech to fit in. That's pretty dang amazing. I said, great respect for that. And she said, I just love this area and I want to live the rest of my life here. My kids are here. My grandkids are here. And she said, I'm going to live here. This is my home now. And I want to fit in. I thought, boy, there's a lot of people in the country could take a lesson from you. I said, if I wasn't even, I would have never guessed if I hadn't we weren't talking about it. I said, it's really not detectable. It's just every once in a while a word here and there I could tell just a little something. I would have never guessed Detroit. I can tell you that. Pretty dang amazing. This young woman, she's got a grandkid, but she started young, so she's not real old or nothing. But they're helping each other, family helping family. Got out of the big city and is working hard every day. I remember her working her shift, then going into the next shift for overtime to make that money, to make ends meet. And she was telling me, things are so expensive, and I said it's so hard. But she said, I'll just keep working, and I keep doing, and we're okay. She had a smile on her face the whole time. Never once did I hear her mention anything bad about anybody or any place. The closest she came was to say, I just didn't want that, what was going on where I was living. I didn't want to be around that anymore. She didn't even trash the people that she just came south. And she said, I love where I'm at. And that's what I'm talking about. She's looking to the positive. She's focusing on what she can affect and making changes and being brave and moving 13 to 1,400 miles, whatever it is, and developing relationships there, putting down roots, and even changing her speech so that she can fit in, all the while with a smile on her face, all the while. And it's just a joy to be around. I've actually asked her to come on the podcast at some point, and she's agreed. We just got to work out details. And I just wanted to tell her story. I think she's pretty dang amazing, and I'm encouraged by that. That motivates me when I see stuff like that. You know, I'll just say this. I'm about to get off here in a minute, get the kiddos to school, but in ministry, like let's say you're a teacher, it could be in church or even elsewhere, whatever. My goal when I taught was to always teach everything I knew the best I could. And with the hope that the person that I teach, in the end, they end up teaching me stuff because if I'm doing a good job of that and they're eager and they learn, we both grow on this because one, you learn while you study, you learn while you teach. The person receiving that, if they listen and they take notes and they do their own study, they're learning kind of double. Then the synergy of that is that you could use the word, I don't know if it's a proper way to say it, they pass you by. Meaning you look up one day and you go, wow, they have advanced more than I did at their age by far. And right now they're pushing me. I've taught them about all I know. I mean, wow. And now they're bringing stuff to me and teaching me. I remember one time, it was the story of Randy Rhoads, the great guitar player. Sad, rest in peace, Randy. Tragically killed. Was playing in Ozzy Osbourne's band. Very proficient. Taught in his mom's music school. Him and his brother, along with Rudy Sarzo. Sorry, what's his name? I just went blank. Anyway, his music teacher, the guy that taught him, who worked at the school, he said within, I mean, it was like a couple of months. He said, I was running out of things to teach this guy. He said he told him one day, he said, I've been winging it now for a couple of weeks. He said, I don't have anything else to give you. In just a couple of months, I think, well, it's not long. This guy was just absorbing and he just had this great gift. And he said, and he said, it's okay. He said, I'm learning from you. And that's what I'm talking about. Like he took it as far as he could. Then the student became the teacher. And I love that. Absolutely love that. And we could always learn. My view is I can learn from anybody. Everybody has the potential to teach me something that I don't know. I've never had this imaginary. I never had the ego to think that I knew everything. I heard my granddaughter say this the other night. I was giving her a hard time. I called her. It was us last night, and she was giving me. Well, she was right to do so. She was giving me a little bit of grief about something I was doing. She said, "You always got on to your boys for that, but you're doing it." I sent a text while driving. I'll tell them myself. And so my granddaughter's, teaching me, but she's gigging me a little bit. And I said, well, it was your nanny. I made an excuse for it. She goes, not right. Not supposed to do it, Papa. I said, you're right. Good morning, Mr. Sixler. And I said, I said, don't be a Weisenheimer. She goes, what's a Weisenheimer? And I was like, well, somebody thinks they know it all or something. And I'll never forget. She said, I don't know everything. She said, I'm learning. She said, I do know some things and I'm learning every day. I learn from you. I learn at school. I learn my own study. She goes, I don't know everything, but I'm learning more. That's a good answer. I don't know everything. I certainly don't. I've never tried to portray myself on the podcast as knowing everything. And I learn from people in the chat or guests we have all the time. To me, it was always a exchange of discussion. We started off, we go down a road, and I love it when that road takes twists and turns, and I go, wow, I didn't know that. I mean, wow, now you've inspired me to go study more on a topic. People say, well, you're smart, you know a lot. I get around some people, I feel like the biggest dummy ever. I was like, man, I didn't know a lot of what you just taught me, but that's good though, because I now know. And I love to be around people like that, or read the works or the books of people that are so dang smart. And it inspires me to do that. But isn't it the greatest gift ever? Two ways. One is when you can give information and the light bulb goes off in someone, you can see that in their eyes, their expression, like, oh, I didn't know that. And they thank you. And my favorite book is the Bible because that feeds my soul. Other than that, I love history, so it would be something along those lines. I read a lot of military history and stuff. it's really hard for me to say what would be my favorite besides the Bible, because there's so many that I really do like. Um, I was trying to think of something I've read. Well, I'll tell you a book that I've read multiple times is a guy that was served in the war between the states, and his name was Sam Watkins, and he wrote a book, and it's a great book, and it's one of my favorites. I have it here in the studio somewhere, and I pick it up, and everybody does. You read it over and over again. It's just a great book. But history, or something along those lines, or government. I like to read about government and um, biographies. I'm really big on biographies. So if you give me a book on, I don't know, Dwight D. Eisenhower, I would love that. Or if you give me a book on Winston Churchill, I'm very big on biographies. And I like a biography that shows the whole of the person, because everybody's got a time that they failed. Winston Churchill is a great example of that. Winston Churchill was a complete military failure at one time. It about lost it all, but he redeemed himself. That's one of the things that always ticked me off about. Was it Obama that come in and moved the bust of Winston Churchill, made a big deal about it? They all moved something. But you told me all I needed to know when you came in with that attitude and moved that. Like, come on. I know why. He didn't like the English Empire. Being from Kenya, one other places he was at, he had a dim view of that. But the man was great. What's the name of... Excuse me, I got allergies. It's called Company HCO, but it's not the letter H. They spell it out like H, like we say here in the South. So it's like AYTCH or something. H. Company H. There's a original volume. I wish I had it here to show you. You can get it in paperback. It won't cost much. It is a book of the war, and he was from outside of Columbia, Tennessee, and he fought all the way through to Atlanta and back up, and Nashville, Franklin, in North Carolina, and surrendered. He left his little town with 200 men, and only 7 lived through it and come back. He fought right through this area that I live in. And I was reading, actually on the history show, I read a portion of the chapter on Chickamauga that he wrote. I'm going to get back into that. We're going to talk about John Bell Hood tonight, or this afternoon, in our history show. But I'm covering the Battle of Chickamauga. I guarantee you, he wrote that book about 20 years, 23. Well, it was right around 20, 25 years after the war. He had a bunch of kids running around. I will say it's a good 20 years. He had a very eloquent way of writing that Victorian area. So it's a little, but he will tell you he wrote it from a soldier's perspective. So it's not a book where he's going to give you flanking movements, and that's not his book. I think that's why I enjoy it so much. I like that other stuff, but he's just giving you a soldier's perspective, and he's got humor in it. There's sadness in it. I mean, it takes you on a journey. But when you get into the battles of Missionary Ridge and Chattanooga, in the section on Chickamauga, he will mention Lee and Gordon Mills. My company that I work for, the facility I'm at, is right in front of that. It's right on the old Federal Road. So he was here for these battles. He was at the Battle of Chickamauga, and in fact, I did a tour with a guy. There's a guy that's still allowed to be buried on the battlefield named John Ingraham, and that he was. There's some things we don't know about him, but they used to be owned by the Reed family, and Reed's Bridge Road, which is where the battle kind of kicked off with Forrest Cavalry. The Reed family still owns property over there, but it's called Reed's Bridge Road. But later on, the government bought more of the battlefield back from the Reed family. He was allowed to stay buried there. They owned that property at the time of the war. It is believed he was a cousin of some kind, I think is what I remember. But anyway, they believe in Sam Watkins' book, and I went out and walked with a guy who followed the unit that Sam was in we went through the woods and everything and followed that around and came right out. And then when he mentions a friend of his dying, this guy believes, and he convinced me, I believe it too, that the guy is John Ingraham. And we were right at the spot as you follow the movements that he mentions and you look at history, the troop movements in that battle, you come right out this guy's grave. And I believe that's the same guy. I think they were friends. And anyway, it's a fascinating book. Now, there is a version you can get that his daughter put out later that has all of his side notes and stuff in it. He calls it the side show before the big show or something like that. He will say that. What is it? The side show before the big, something like that. I got to go back and remember that. But I promise you, it won't cost much, and she would be fascinated by it if she has any interest in. He met Robert E. Lee once. He tells some graphic stuff, but he doesn't get into it and stay into it. He just tries to give you an idea of what he's seeing and an eyewitness account. But man, there's funny. He's that classic soldier too. The girl they left behind, his beloved Jenny. He wants to get back and marry her, and they do, and have a passel of kids. And it's an amazing story, an amazing story. And I've stood on many of the spots that he talks about. I'll tell you one, and I got to get off here. I was in Kennesaw Battlefield, and up on the top there, or somewhere in there, there's an area where the Union troops were coming up this. It was kind of an opening between trees, and they've preserved all this. And that's hard with Kennesaw. There's a lot of development, but they have done a good job of preserving a lot of it. But anyway, the troops were coming up, and the Confederates on the high ground, they're in the trenches, and they're just unloading on them. And Sam talks about how the guns were getting so hot, they were having to switch guns. People were loading, and, after several firings, you can't hold that gun. It's so hot. They'll actually just start melting. I've just fired powder through them, and that, they're going to get hotter with the bullet. And I'll tell you, they'll burn your hands up. Just the powder out of them after a few. You got to be real careful. But anyway, they talked about how the bodies were stacking up. They just kept sending them, and they were like wishing they would stop. The carnage was bad. And I was standing there at that trench, imagining, I don't know exactly what spot Sam was in, but I'm definitely standing right in front of one of the trench that he would have been in. And we're standing there, and it had a gentle rain. And if I remember right, I think he talked about a rain or something. It was a moment, man. It's hard to explain, man. It was just like, it just takes you back. It's like one of those moments you feel like you just got transported into something. And so I had his book there, and I was reading that part while I was standing there. And it's a weird feeling. I don't know how to describe it. But like I mentioned before, I would qualify for the Sons of Revolution, the Sons of the Confederacy. American history is a big interest to us. Absolutely, man. Me too. My with me it was with Direct. He was a cousin, but he was in the Revolutionary War. He's the reason my family got on down deeper south too. The land lotteries. He got an extra draw, and he helped family get down from North Carolina down into Georgia through the land lotteries. His name was I know it. It's Cordell, but I can't remember the first name right now. My brain ain't working today. I don't know if Broski, I fell a week ago yesterday, and in my parking lot, and my body has hurt so bad. I'm getting better, but it's slow. When you get old, don't fall. Don't fall. But yeah, this afternoon we will have our history show. I have our friends from Southern Shadows that does the history tours, a brand new company here in Chickamauga, and so they do ghost tours and all that. We're going to do a ghost tour with them as well and talk about some of the Confederate hospitals and stuff. And we're going to put together a little Southern Fried group and go do that. But Miss Courtney's going to be on with me this afternoon, and her topic will be solely John Bell Hood. As we talk about the Battle of Chickamauga, that's one of her focuses, and we're going to be totally focused on John Bell Hood. And then we're going to kick that off a little early today, 4 p.m. I'm going to have to rearrange some stuff at work, but 4 p.m. it works for her, and we're going to make that happen. And I'm hoping that we can continue with this and help drive business for her locally, and just pick her brain. She's got a fascinating story herself, but she loves to. That's her favorite thing, and the Battle of Chickamauga is one of her favorites. So we're kind of focused that I'm doing character studies of the generals in the war right now, so it fit perfect. I hadn't covered John Bell Hood yet, and she said, "Oh, please, can I have that one?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So we're gonna do that today for at least an hour, at least. And if we can get some questions in at the end, I know Barry's got a question about Kate Cummins, and she's actually doing some study on that as well right now. So, but we're going to do that this afternoon. So that'll be on the Bibles and Battlefield show because there's a lot of faith involved in that. The battles themselves, that's why I called it Bibles and Battlefields. And and if you read Sam's book, he talks about preachers that were at some highfalutin preachers too. They didn't understand a word he said. It's funny, man. It's amazing in the carnage that happened in the war, the comedy, the humor that he was able to remember and bring out, but then, yes, tragedy as well. Hey, y'all have a great day. I so enjoyed talking to you. Thanks, Broski, for emailing me. I'll be talking to you. Chick Bait, if you're still out there, bless you, sister. And thanks for everybody else coming in here or watching or whatever you're doing. We appreciate you very much giving the support to Southern Fried. Rob will be recording something this afternoon for a show later. It won't be live today, but we should be live this evening. Again, another show or maybe a couple of shows. I've got a music show to do as well that I'm trying to catch up on. I may kick that in tonight. But anyway, we'll get all that going. Wolf Nation is another thing that's coming along. It's all of our outdoor adventures. We're going to be talking about hiking, anything outdoor, anything adventurous like that. But it's going to be a lot about Appalachian Trail. Those folks that get out there and do the section hikes or the through hikes or whatever, and send us pictures and stuff. And I'm hooking up with a lot of people. And we're going to kick that off soon. So we're already posting a lot about Wolf Nation. It's a whole new line. It's just going to encompass the outdoor aspect. But have a great day. God bless. And God bless America, as I said. It's great to be an American. Absolutely. And get out there and enjoy America today. Don't let the naysayers take you down. God bless this great land. We salute you. We salute America. Take care.